In 393 AD, the Roman Emperor Theodosius I signed a decree that effectively deleted a 1,000-year-old tradition. This was a campaign of total destruction. The temples were burned, the sacred grounds were abandoned, and the competitions were halted permanently. For a Christian emperor, the festival wasn't a sporting event, it was a pagan ritual that had to be dismantled. This tradition survived for 10 centuries because it solved a specific problem for the Greeks. It allowed rival city-states to measure their power and assert status without always resorting to battlefield slaughter. To understand why the Olympics were eventually targeted, we have to look at how athletic perfection functioned as a tool of the state. During the Greek Dark Ages, the region was heavily fractured. Mountainous geography isolated the city-states from one another, resulting in deep-seated rivalries and constant small-scale warfare. Local leaders developed a sacred truce to manage the chaos, called the Ekakaria. It didn't stop every war in Greece, but it guaranteed that any religious pilgrim traveling to the sanctuary of Zeus could pass through hostile territory without being killed. Records suggest the festival officially began in 776 BC at the sanctuary of Olympia. It was a one-day event with a single 200-meter sprint called the Stadion. The first recorded winner was a local baker named Charybdis. The event grew in complexity as the city-states realized the potential of the arena. Instead of fielding an army to humiliate a rival, they began fielding athletes to claim victory on a different kind of battlefield. The early Olympics took the violence of war and placed it inside a regulated theater, creating a sophisticated mechanism for political dominance. By the 5th century BC, the scale of the festival had reached its peak. 50,000 spectators crowded into the rural sanctuary, enduring sweltering summer heat and lack of infrastructure just to witness the events. The religious magnitude of the site was centered on a 42-foot-tall statue of Zeus. Plated in gold and ivory, the figure sat on a throne inside a massive temple, looming over the athletes. The program expanded into increasingly lethal combat. The pancration allowed almost any move, from bone-breaking holds to strikes, while chariot races often ended in spectacular, fatal crashes on the track. A simple wreath of olive leaves was the only official prize at Olympia, but the real rewards were waiting back home. Victorious athletes were often granted lifetime pensions and political offices, bringing immense wealth and leverage to their home cities. This produced a cultural focus on the idealized male form. To the Greeks, a perfectly developed body proved divine favor and ethnic superiority. Olympia acted as the anchor for a cycle of 4 major festivals known as the Pan-Hellenic Games. Between the Olympics and the competitions at Delphi, Nemea, and Corinth, there was almost always a high-stakes arena available for Greek dominance. At its zenith, the Olympic wreath was the most valuable political asset a city-state could hold. The balance shifted when Rome conquered Greece in the 2nd century BC. Olympia was no longer the center of a network of independent powers. It became a provincial site within a much larger empire. Roman administrators often viewed the competitions with apathy. Without the fierce political rivalries of the Greek city-states to fuel the stakes, the sacred rituals of the competition began to decline. This chart shows the geographic diversity of victors. After the Roman annexation, the number of athletes traveling from distant regions dropped significantly. This map highlights how the games became a regional affair. Physical maintenance at the sanctuary also suffered. Earthquakes and floods began damaging the buildings, and few resources were allocated for repairs. When the games stopped serving as a high-stakes tool for political maneuvering, their cultural importance started to dissolve. The Roman Empire's conversion to Christianity eventually made the festival's religious roots a liability. The rituals and sacrifices to Zeus were now viewed by the state as illegal pagan practices. Emperor Theodosius I used his 393 AD decree to dismantle these competing religious influences. By banning the games, he effectively cut the ties between the people and their ancient gods. The physical destruction followed. Theodosius II later ordered the temples burned, and over the next few centuries, natural disasters buried the remaining stone columns under several feet of silt. The physical sanctuary was dismantled and forgotten, illustrating how even a 1,000-year-old institution can be erased when the political and religious landscape shifts. In the 19th century, archaeologists rediscovered the starting blocks and the layout of the ancient stadium. This rediscovery provided the foundation for a new movement in 1894. Baron Pierre de Coubertin looked at these ruins and saw a mechanism for global peace. He believed that the ancient Greek ambition for excellence could be adapted into a modern system of international friendship. The 1896 revival in Athens drew 241 athletes from 14 different countries. It was the first modern Olympiad, and its success ensured that the 4-year cycle would return to the world stage. The modern Danes eventually broke through the ancient limitations. They introduced winter sports, included female athletes, and expanded to represent more than 200 different teams from around the world. The ancient ekakyria survived as a concept of global unity. The modern Olympic flag and its 5 interlocking rings now represent the survival of that original Greek ambition. The original temples of Olympia are ruins, but the structure of global competition they created has now returned. For more stories on the rise and fall of the world's most influential institutions, subscribe to Empire Snapshots.